ووجدك ضالا فهدى.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Heather Hussam, and this is my story. I was born and raised a Catholic. My family was very religious. We did catechism, which is like religious school. I made my first Holy Communion. Had to accept communion every week, and I have always loved God. Where it became difficult for me, even as a young person, is God says that He says, "I am God. I am a jealous God. There should be no other gods before me. I have begotten none, nor am I begotten." So one day at catechism class, I asked the priest, if God says this, then how can He have a son? And I was told that that was not a question that we should ask. I went to Mother Superior, who's like the head of the nuns, asked her the same question. Why would God say that if He had a child? And again was told that it's not a question that I should ask, that it's just something that we as Catholics accept. And from that day, my faith in God never faltered. My faith in the Catholic religion did. I felt guilty, like at night when I pray, do the Stations of the Cross or stuff. I really felt guilty because I didn't believe that He had a son. I believed that Jesus was a prophet. I believed that that there was Jesus. That I believed Mary was a virgin because it's a miracle from God. But I did not believe that God had a son, and I didn't know what direction to go in. My very first experience with Islam was I was working in a restaurant in West Haven, Connecticut, and there was a man that worked for me named Brian. He was an American Muslim, but I didn't know that at the time. So he told me, "Can you take a break for a couple of minutes?" So I said, "Sure." He goes into the back room, and he's doing what looks to me like exercises. So I waited, and I heard he said something. I didn't know what it was then, but he said Allahu Akbar, and he did some more exercises. And get up. And I went in, I said, "What?" I said, "If I can ask, what are you doing?" He said, I'm praying. He said, "We have to pray 5 times a day." I said, what do you mean we have to pray 5 times a day? He said, "I'm a Muslim." Um, and I said, "Well, what was that what you said?" He said, I said, "God is great." He said, "We say it, he said, we say it every time we get up, every time we make sujood," which I didn't know what that was either. So every time they bow, every time they kneel, they say Allahu Akbar. And I said, to me it just sounded so. The word sounded so wonderful from that second. The word sounded so wonderful, but really, honestly, I thought he was doing exercises. So I started to ask him a little about, a little about Islam and this and that, and he offered to give me a English Quran, a Quran that was in English. He said the Quran's in Arabic, but it's also translated into English. He got me a Quran. I started reading it the very next night at work. He brought it in the next night. I started reading it, and I was hooked. It was just because it says that there's only one God. That was my answer. I started to read the Quran every night. Learning more and more about Islam. It talked about the same prophets. It talked about the same people, the same times, the same everything. The only thing that it doesn't change, and that's the thing that this man Brian had told me, is that nothing in the Quran changes. Not one letter, not one nothing changes in the Quran. Unlike the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Bible's nothing changes, and it was such a relief to see, to just know that there really was one God. That it was what I searched for my whole life. That there, um, that there was one God. Then I started going to the masjid in West Haven, which is where the Muslims pray, and the women started teaching me everything about Islam. They taught me why they dressed the way they did, why they wore the scarves, the hijab, why they prayed 5 times a day. All the rules, but never once pushed me, said you should become a Muslim or you shouldn't become a Muslim or anything. But they just taught me open-heartedly and openly. Taught me about Islam. Never said it's better than Christianity or it's better than Judaism or it's better or worse than. They just went out of their ways to teach me. I just look so forward to seeing them and learning on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And after all these years, they're still like my very, very best friends today. The happiest day of my life was May 17th. I went to West Haven Masjid where I was learning about Islam, and I took my Shahada. The Sheikh told me, word for word what to say because my Arabic still wasn't very good. And I said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, which means I believe that there's only one God, and I believe that Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet of Allah. I looked at the women there and they were all crying, and the sheikh started to cry. I felt a light enter my body that's never left. I literally felt a light enter my body that attached me to these people, to this wonderful, wonderful community, these wonderful, wonderful religious people, and the light has never left. It's been inside me, it's been outside of me ever since. It's the most miraculous feeling you could just ever imagine. Alhamdulillah, I've been a Muslim for 22 and a half years. I just love every second of it. It's made me a completely, totally different person than I was before Islam. And last year, I got to do my Hajj, which is the pilgrimage to Mecca that every Muslim has to perform. That is the most miraculous, wonderful experience that in anybody's life. There were 4 million people in Mecca, and when you hear the adhan, which is the call to prayer, everybody stops what they're doing. They set down a prayer rug or set down something to put their head on to make their prayer. 4 million people, you don't hear a sound but Ameen, which means Amen, when the Sheikh finishes the prayer that he says for us for that particular prayer. Most incredible experience of my life. I went home. I went home. I hope this video has enlightened you a little bit or taught you a little bit about Islam, and I hope for my love for Islam. I'm also going to ask all my brothers and sisters in the world to pray for all the people that are oppressed in this world. Please pray for the people that are oppressed in this world. As God says, if one were gathered in my name, I am amidst among them. We all need to pray, and we all need to pray that there will be no more oppression. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ووجدك ضالا فهدى